On Rockies, lazy analysis continues as Coors Field continues to be the only thing people consider when it comes to the greatness of Colorado Rockies players.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 28th day of December in the year 2022. I am your Rockies fan extraordinaire, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast, where you can find your team every day on the Locked On Podcast Network. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, you're in the right spot. You can be part of the diehard fans and be part of the live chat, just like Nick Delvo is here. He's always here. He's saying rock on in the live chat. You can follow us on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, be part of the show. You can find us on Twitter as well. All the places that you find stuff, you can find us. And today on the Locked On Rockies podcast, I'm a little fired up. Because I'm tired of seeing people that study this game, that know this game more than me, that's been involved in this game longer than I have, continue to neglect greatness from Colorado Rockies players because of Coors Field. And honestly, I wasn't gonna maybe name names, but Jon Heyman's take on Todd Helton is a joke. It's honestly, straight up, legitimately a joke. The people who are voting for no one in the Hall of Fame are a joke. You might have legitimate reasons to leave Todd Helton off your ballot. There might be some ways that you can justify it. But here's the deal. When your summary of why you're not voting for someone is terrific rate stats, but it feels like someone who played his whole career at Coors, mostly before the humidor, could have bigger career totals. What is that? What more do you need? So it's a tool now. So the Rockies should lean in more. Oh, but if they lean too far into the Coors Field thing, well, they're just stuck at Coors Field. They can't do anything because we've never seen Rockies players leave Colorado and be successful on offense. It's never happened because it's all just Coors Field. Coors Field, Coors Field, Coors Field, Coors Field. Watch Rockies baseball. Actually watch the game. Jon Heyman is someone that's been involved in the game for a long time. These people that are leaving blank ballots, these people that are doing absolute clown show reasonings to neglect greatness from Rockies players are lazy. It's lazy analysis. It's lazy to just lean on Coors Field. To completely negate everything that Todd Helton did because he played at Coors Field is ridiculous. And then to sit here and celebrate, well, every Yankee is great. Whoa, Aaron Judge, 60 home runs. Whoa, 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 whoa. He's the home run king. Aaron Judge, he's 17 home runs or whatever behind, but no, he's a Yankee. He's a Yankee. He's the captain now. All his offense is great. He's wonderful. He's tremendous. He's crazy. He's blah, 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 blah. Why don't Yankees players get dinged for playing in a sandbox in a little dink doink? Why doesn't Joey Votto have to deal with the headache of playing in a hitter-friendly ballpark? Do people forget that the Rockies have to go and play in San Francisco and LA for most of the time of the season? Do people like Jon Heyman not realize that a humidor was invented to completely negate this? Is any Arizona Diamondbacks player ever going to be great enough to go to the Hall of Fame because they play at thin sea level too? Ridiculous. If you want to look at the numbers and you want to compare, there might be some things where Todd falls short. And you can look at his injuries and you can say, man, that back half of the career wasn't that good. But then you have to go but then if you're really going to break down and do the analysis, there's so many things out there that you can point to that makes a strong case for Todd Helton to be in this conversation. He does, no matter how you vote, Todd Helton deserves to be in this conversation, and he deserves to be reflected upon as a great ball player. His loyalty to a team like the Colorado Rockies, should be rewarded. He could have gone anywhere. And if he played in a bigger market, if Todd Helton was actually traded to the Boston Red Sox, he would be his face would be a bigger deal. More people would know who he is. Playing in Colorado is more of a curse. To be a great Colorado Rocky and to stand out amongst other Rockies players and amongst the league is so hard to do, because anything you do on offense has the lazy take of Coors Field inflation. Oh, he was at Coors Field. He should have hit more. What? What more do you want from a guy who just absolutely dominated in his career? Folks, let's get the numbers. Let's get the Todd Helton numbers. Career 61.8 WAR. Career 316 batting average, 1,400 RBIs, an OBP of 414, slugging of 539, an OPS of 953. Scored himself over 1,400 times, 1,401 runs scored to 1,406 RBIs. That's how efficient he was. And plus 369 home runs. 5-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove, 4-time Silver Slugger, a batting title, should have been Rookie of the Year in 1998. He should have been, there was a case that he could have won an MVP. Lazy. But it's all Coors Field. It's all Coors Field. It's incredibly lazy. And it's incredibly frustrating, because why do we as Rockies fans have to be punished for watching our team, our players, and just their environment? There are other hitter-friendly environments in the game of baseball, and it's not just the easy take. Of course. Oh, Todd Helton, 369. Of course. It's BS, folks. It's grade A BS. Horse hockey, as they say. Dive into the live chat here and read some more about why the Rockies legend could get into the Hall of Fame. But and there's more out there. But remember, when you're breaking down analysis from someone like Jon Heyman, let's remember what he said about where Aaron Judge and where he was going to end up, and all the other times that Heyman has missed the mark. But these people saying that they're to turn in nobody on your Hall of Fame ballot, to look at that entire rundown of players, Todd Helton included, and say, nah, none of them are Hall of Famers. Lazy. It's lazy analysis. You're not actually focused. You have your preconceived notions, your prejudices, and your thoughts, and you've made up your mind. At least Jon Heyman went and voted for some people and wrote down his whole reasoning and actually said why he didn't vote for Todd Helton. It's a terrible reason. It's a bad excuse, but at least it's there. And at least he's voting for some people. Blank ballots, or these ballots with one person on them, get out of here. Get out of here. All right, let's dive into the live chat. Let's talk about more about this. Let's see what folks got to say. But before we do that, got to tell you about some of our great sponsors, and that includes BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. That includes football, pro, and college. I mean, prime time, right? As the NFL continues to get closer and closer to the playoffs, bowl season in full swing. And of course, you got basketball and hockey going on, and future bets for baseball if you want to get involved in that. They got it all at betonline.net. They got more sports podcasts that you can check out there. So if you love sports podcasts, well, assume you do because you're listening to this one. You can see that there. You can head to the website today. That's betonline.net, or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Talking Todd Helton, I kind of ranted and raved a little bit there about the analysis and evaluation of Rockies players. Let's take a couple of comments here. Nicholas Delvo says it is unfair, but it's not their fault. It's exactly right. They were played there, and success should be rewarded. Todd Helton was not a bad baseball player. Todd Helton was instrumental in success for the Rockies during those times. He was a leader, he was dedicated, and he played 17 years of pro baseball, not to be sent down other than for rehab assignments. Brandon Kramer says, losing your mind, man. I love it. I mean, it's because I care. I mean, like when you are a fan of teams like the Rockies or these teams that in the national eye have just little jokes or little quips or little this or little that, and then you have terrible trades, you have terrible stretches. It's exhausting. And it's exhausting to get caught up in people that don't really follow this team. Does John Heyman know more about baseball and follow more baseball than I do? Yes, he's more connected than me. Absolutely. But to sit there and say that all of these people that have the ability to vote for the Hall of Fame actually watch, actually look at, actually analyze, actually break down Colorado Rockies baseball is slim to none. What happens when you watch a Rockies game on national TV? Well, there we go. It's Coors Field. We're down here in Coors Field, and look at this. It's Denver, Colorado. Look at that. The ball, it's going to fly because it's Coors Field. And I don't know if you heard, but Coors Field, it's at altitude. So the ball's actually, there should be more offense. And then they say the Rockies are great on offense and blah, blah, blah. And the Rockies aren't always that great on offense. Just because the Rockies play at Coors Field is not a free guaranteed pass for the Rockies to have good offense. It's not a free guaranteed pass for Todd Helton to just to be good at baseball just because he played at Coors Field. Laziness. Brandon also follows it up by saying, Todd better get Hall of Fame. Nicholas Delvo says they knew when they built Coors that the ball would fly. That's why they built it the way they did. It's a part of the environment. They knew what was going on. And Todd Helton did not play the majority of his career without a humidor. He played it with the humidor. What other teams do to combat this, what other teams are doing, even though they're not at sea level. Brandon also says, I always wonder where you get all the stats from, like the bases loaded stat from a couple days ago. I couldn't find that anywhere. I mostly, when I look at like stat lines and stuff, more often than not, I use Baseball Reference. The other one was a tweet, and it was at Jaycuda, at Jaycuda, I think, on Twitter. That was he just took a graph. So that was just because Purple Row, I think, retweeted it, and then I saw it. It's basically just when you follow all the Denver media or the Rocky Central stuff. That's when you can kind of see people posting about things. And Nicholas Delvo says, you're totally right. If they were anywhere else, they'd be a bigger deal. I'm mad that most of the Blake Street Bombers are not in. The fact that it took Larry Walker up until the final push and a massive wave in the middle shows the fight that Rockies players are going to have. Is Troy Tulowitzki a Hall of Famer? I think that health is going to get in the way, but he's a Rockies legend, and he deserves to be on that ballot and deserves to be celebrated because he was great. The consistency wasn't there, but to say that Troy Tulowitzki was not a great player or he was only good because he was on the Rockies is a bad take. His health got more in the way than his abilities when he was in Toronto and New York. It wasn't that he wasn't able to play, or it wasn't that he wasn't any good. It's just he couldn't stay on the field. That's it. That's something you talk about. Todd Helton's numbers make the case. And there's more things where you can say this, but 12 of the Todd Helton seasons were played with the humidor. 5 seasons he only had about the humidor. But as someone else points out in this tweet back to Skylar Timmons, who was the one I found that posted his answer, Heyman's answer to that is, Won't vote for Helton because his stats weren't impressive enough, but voted for Jimmy Rollins, who had a career 263, 324, 743 stat line. That's better than Todd Helton's line because he played in Philly, because he was an East Coast guy. I just want Rockies players to be given the respect they earn. When I look at analysis of Todd Helton, and when I see people who don't vote for him and they actually explain why and they think the numbers aren't more impressive, that's fine. But it just irks me. It irks me to this day. And like we said with the national broadcast, to just throw your hands up and yell Coors Field is not good analysis. When you tell me Todd Helton shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame because he should have done more at Coors Field or he was impacted too much by Coors Field, I want to rip my hair out. That's not a fair way of analysis. Coors Field is not this weird, freaky deaky anomaly that makes baseball completely different. There are people that have come to Colorado and have struggled to hit. There are people that don't hit well in Coors Field and they hit well outside of Coors Field. Yes, the Rockies benefit from playing there, but it's called home field advantage, something that almost every team would argue they have. Teams that have a strong home field advantage are not chastised. It's part of the game. I hate that take. I hate your lazy reliance on Coors Field, and that is your only analysis. Todd Helton needed to do more at Coors Field. Tell me that you wouldn't want that line. Tell me you wouldn't want a guy that had a stretch of hitting over 30 home runs from 1999 and going up until 2005. Where he was an all-star 5 years in a row. Silver Slugger 4 years in a row. Gold Glove. Guess what? Rockies players don't win every Silver Slugger. It's not how it works. It's not how it happens. You don't dominate like Todd Helton dominated if you're just an average Joe. Todd Helton played on crappy Rockies teams and was great. And that is the reason that it's going to haunt him. And he has to deal with the stupid stigma of Coors Field and has to carry that burden when he's trying to be recognized for his work, for his effort. But it's just reduced down to Coors Field. Coors Field. Coors Field. Laziness. All right, I want to give you some more. I want to dive into a nice piece from Manny Randawa, longtime beat writer there for the Rockies, and go over his 6 reasons why Todd Helton belongs in the Hall, because I think I've ranted and raved enough. I saw your question as well, Blasting Bagel, and I'm not quite sure about Brandon Belt and the Rockies. When you're looking at someone like Belt, when you're looking at someone to add to your team, where is he going to fill? Is he going to be someone that gets in the way of your young guys? Could be interesting, but he does mash at Coors. That is a good point. I missed that one earlier in the live chat. But remember, subscribe to Locked On Rockies, and then you can find out when we go live, and you can be part of the live chat like so many great Rockies fans are all the time. Folks, we are brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Admission, and they want to let you know, if you're hanging out with some friends and putting back a few drinks, a few becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. What are the odds you'll get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that can happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license. What about losing your job, or totaling your car, or killing someone? Everyone knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. Folks, we're hanging out here on the Locked On Rockies podcast, where you can find us free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We head to MLB.com. 6 reasons Todd Helton belongs in the Hall. Let's deal with Coors right off the bat. This is from Amanda Randois over here on MLB.com. Helton played his entire 17-year MLB career with the Rockies, which means he played all of his home games at the hitter's paradise that is Coors Field. So naturally, the Hall of Fame voter has to take into account whether the inevitably inflated numbers from half a career of hitting in the altitude of Denver are enough to disqualify Helton from a place in Cooperstown. Stripping out his Coors Field numbers entirely, Helton was a great hitter. In 4,612 road plate appearances, the slugging first baseman hit .287, .386, .469 with 142 home runs. His .855 OPS away from his home ballpark is higher than the road OPS of Hall of Famers Dave Winfield at .841, Eddie Murray at .838, Ricky Henderson at .836, Tony Gwynn at .835, Al Klein at .827, and George Brett at .826, among others. And when it comes to on-base percentage, Helton's 3.86 OBP on the road is higher than Hall of Famers Rod Carew, 385, Gwynn, 384, Honus Wagner at 383, Willie Mays at 382, Eddie Matthews, 382, Joe Morgan, 380, Tim Raines, 378, Vladimir Guerrero, 376, Fred McGriff, 376, Frank Robinson, 376, Harmon Killebrew, 373, Willie McCovey, 372, Derek Jeter, 370, Helton's former teammate and Hall of Famer Larry Walker at 370, Hank Aaron at 369, Line at 369, Duke Snyder at 369. That's a long list of people, of Hall of Famers, that Todd Helton has a better road stat than. Helton's road stats are Hall-worthy, and that's not even counting his incredible numbers at Coors Field. Helton's, we've addressed the Coors issue. Again, 6 reasons Todd Helton belongs in the Hall, and Manny Randois on MLB.com. Now let's bring it back, because how incredible do your numbers have to be in altitude to prove you're a great hitter? Helton's are phenomenal, which even with the Coors discount make his Hall of Fame case a strong one. In 4,841 home plate appearances, he hit .345, .441, .607 with 227 home runs at the corner of 20th and Blake in lower downtown Denver. It doesn't matter. We talked about this with Barry Bonds. You can juice. You can be in a hitter-friendly ballpark. If you can't do the fundamentals of hitting, if you can't actually hit, you will be exposed. And Todd Helton was not exposed. His road numbers are better than Hall of Famers. His home numbers are better than Hall of Famers. Get your humidor, get your Coors Field take, and bundle it up and throw it out, because you're not looking at the numbers, John Heyman. You're not. You're not looking at the numbers, anonymous voter that left your ballot blank. You aren't. You're not actually looking at Todd Helton's numbers. You're not actually looking at it and breaking it down. This is what two sentences out of this article that we see that has plenty enough firepower to say, why didn't he do more at Coors Field? Well, because if he did more at Coors Field, you'd yell at him for playing at Coors Field. So instead, he went out and he was dominant on the road. Great on the road, while being even better at home, because that is what a complete and good and great hitter does. There's more of this article. There's more there. But I just kind of wanted I don't want to, you should really go read this, because it dives in more, and we're running out of time. But here's the thing. There's 2 more points that Manny makes, that I want to say. him being Mr. Rocky should be recognized. Him spending the Hall of Fame should recognize greatness of all players. Doesn't matter if they play in Colorado, New York, Miami, Kansas City, St. Louis, Arizona. If you are a great player, you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And I think your loyalty, your representation, when you think of the Colorado Rockies from the mid 2000s on, from 2000 basically until, what was it, 2015? It was Todd Helton. Todd Helton was still the face when Troy Tulowitzki was there. When Matt Holliday was there, he was still Mr. Rocky. And then he passed the torch to Nolan and Trevor and DJ and all these other people that went on. And that's the other thing. If you're going to just negate everything Todd Helton did, is everything Nolan Arenado and DJ LeMahieu did going to be negated too? Because those are two players that are going to have a really good case for that Hall of Fame. Is everything Nolan Arenado do in Coors Field, is that inflated too? Because I don't think so. So I think a guy that leaves, goes to St. Louis, and almost wins the MVP shows that your Coors Field narrative, your reliance on leaning on that is lazy and not the right way to analyze the Rockies, to analyze Rockies players. And the final part here, while we close out, according to Jay Jaffe's back to 6 reasons Todd Helton belongs in the Hall. According to Jay Jaffe's JAWS system of rating players at each position, Helton ranks 15th all time amongst first basemen. That's higher than Hall of Famers Murray, Hank Greenberg, George Sisler, Bill Terry, Killebrew, McGriff, Orlando Cepeda, Gil Hodges, and others. Compared with the average Hall of Fame first baseman, Helton fares well. He produced a 61.8 career WAR per Baseball Reference. The average Hall of Fame first baseman's is 65. His 7-year peak WAR, the WAR from his best 7-year stretch, was significantly higher than the Hall of Fame first baseman's at 41.8 at 46.6. Helton's 54.2 JAWS rating is higher than the average Hall of Fame first baseman at 53.4, and his 4.5 WAR per 162 games also stacks up favorably with this 4.8 from the average first baseman enshrined in Cooperstown. The advanced analytics, the numbers, the stats show Todd Helton deserves to be a Hall of Famer, and Colorado Rockies players deserve to have their excellence recognized no matter where they play. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you for letting me get on the soapbox today and rant and rave. I got a little fired up about that stuff, but we can be found on your favorite streaming service. All you got to do is search Locked On Rockies, and you'll be taken to where you need to go. You can also find us on Locked On Rockies on YouTube, and like we said, on your favorite streaming service. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Paul Holden 33 and at LOR Rockies. LO Rockies, I should say. And thank you to Nicholas Delvo, Blasting Bagel, Brandon Kramer, Eric Harper, and Furious MMO for being in the live chat today. Subscribe to Locked On Rockies on YouTube. Be part of the live chat. And let's go Rockies, folks. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Go make the Locked On Sports Today podcast your second listen, and stay up to date with all things Colorado sports with the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, and Locked On Nuggets podcast. And until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.